Morning, everybody. So we're going to continue with Shantideva, and he's getting into the part that is really challenging now. Yeah. So if your self-centered thought hasn't gotten beat up enough, he's going to now tell you how you aren't important at all in the way that you think that you're important. Okay. So, get ready. So let's start with the visualization of the lineage masters who have all done the practice that we'll be learning of equalizing and exchanging self with others, and who have all survived it, although their self-centered thought has not survived it. Mm-hmm. So I think we can do the same. So we walk around all day and sleep at night and do everything with a very strong sense of I. Yeah, there's a me, there's an I here. And there's also my. There's an I that is the possessor of the body, the possessor of friends and relatives, of wealth, of reputation. So we're so used to this feeling of I and my that we often don't even recognize that it's there. We think this is just the way things are. But in actual fact, these ideas, this that leads to grasping at I and my, it's all a fabrication. It's all made up. When we look for this seemingly truly existent I that experiences things, that owns things, that wants things, we really believe that such an I exists in the way that it appears to us. But when we look for exactly who it is, things get a little bit fuzzy. And we can't locate something that we can say, this is me, or this is the my that possesses things. So when we are able to loosen this feeling of I and my, it becomes much easier to see that we and all living beings are the same in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. That this wish is not just ours, it's everybody's. And so in that respect, my happiness is not such a big deal, and my suffering also isn't a big deal compared to everybody's. And so with that awareness, we generate love and compassion for all sentient beings because they're just like us and there's nothing special about us, which can actually be very freeing. And so with that, let's generate bodhicitta as our motivation for sharing the Dharma this morning. So I think it can be very helpful when there's something strong going on inside of us, some strong emotion, or we're totally fed up, we're totally frustrated, we're dissatisfied, those kind of things that we feel quite regularly. I'm disempowered, people don't pay attention to me, and so on. To just say who's the I that feels this? Yeah, and to just sit there and say who, yeah, and then try and look in your body and mind, separate from your body and mind. See who it is who is thinking this thought, or who is feeling, stressed, or feeling unappreciated, or feeling guilty. Who is it? Yeah, who? And when you start to do this, then the mind instantly responds, I, me. And then you reply back, who? Yeah, because we initially take, when the mind screams, I, me, mine, we just take that for granted and, go on. But let's ask a little further. Let's question a little deeper. Who is this? Who wants this? Or who feels this? Yeah. It gets quite interesting. So I won't say more than that. It's leave it as a little search that you can do. And Yeah, very interesting what your mind comes up with. Because there's definitely some thought, I. But what does that refer to? We left it last week before, whenever our last session was. Everything is running into each other nowadays, for me anyway. Where Shantideva is saying that, when we really see the harm of the mind that is so full of desire, that so wants this and wants that and wants the other things, and how that motivates us to do all sorts of negative actions, which then throw us into the lower realms. And then it's difficult to get out of the lower realms. It's not like, okay, well, I'm born as one of the kiddies at the Abbey. That's not so bad. I can just curl up and catch up on my sleep. Finally, I didn't sleep enough as a human being at the Abbey. Now I'm a cat. I can catch up on the sleep, and everybody comes and pets me and tells me how wonderful I am. Yeah. And you might think, oh, that's not so bad. They say ignorance is bliss. Oh, I'm ignorant as a cat. I don't have to worry about the political situation in the U.S. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about the war in Ukraine. Ignorance is bliss. Well, think again. Yeah, it's very difficult when we're born in the lower realms to create virtue. I mean, the best chance we have is whoever is taking us for walks every day. We circumambulate the Buddha statue in the garden, or people say mantra and we can hear it. Yeah, but that merit is due to the power of the object, not through the power of the mind itself being virtue. Okay, so very, very difficult. So we want to avoid that kind of rebirth. Yeah, because having the kind of rebirth we have right now is really extremely rare. Yeah, and it took us a lot of work in previous lives to create the cause for this. So that's not wasted. Okay, so Shantideva is saying with that kind of awareness, then, you go out and go into retreat. Yeah, so remember, this is chapter 8. It's not what you do at the very beginning of your practice. Yeah, you prepare for this for a long time. So when you actually go into long retreat, you have some result, But so he says they live, these practitioners who do this, in joyful houses of vast flat stones, cooled by the sandal-scented moonlight, fanned by the peaceful, silent forest breeze, thinking of what is of benefit for others. Okay, so we like the first 3 lines. Well, maybe not in vast stone houses, unless they have central heating. But the sandal-scented moonlight, peaceful, silent forest breeze, no cougars, no elephants, no lions, tigers, and bears, ho. Okay, so that's very romantic. That feels nice. But then what do you do when you're there? You think of what is of benefit to others. You don't think of, oh, how lucky I am. I get to go live in this very quiet, solitary place. No emails, no WhatsApp, no people asking me again and again to do this and do that. No rotas to follow. I am free of all of that. No, that's not what you do when you go to long retreat. Is sit there and rejoice at that. You think of what is beneficial to others. So, we don't have to wait until we're in retreat to do that. We should be thinking now of what is beneficial to others. Okay. And thinking of what is beneficial to others doesn't mean we ignore ourselves. I mean, we are just regular human beings with our own samsaric limitations at this moment. But what we can do is slowly begin to eliminate these limitations. But we can't expect ourselves to be Buddhas right now. Sorry, folks. So we have to create a lot of causes, but we're very fortunate in having found the path to do that. Okay, and then 87 says, they dwell for as long as they wish in empty houses at the feet of trees and in caves, having abandoned the pain of clinging to and guarding possessions. They abide independent, free of care. Okay, so again, the beginning part sounds nice, especially if you're somebody who likes nature, you like camping, Okay, dwell as long as you wish in empty houses. Again, they have to be heated and air-conned. At the feet of trees, but without ant hills at the foot of the trees. In caves, again with nice soft cushions and a nice bed to sleep on, not the hard stone. Okay, but having abandoned the pain of clinging to and guarding possessions. Yeah. Now here we have to stop and think, because our worldly life says, oh, but clinging to and guarding possessions is worthwhile. All my possessions make me happy. Yeah. Your central heating and your aircon in your cave, I want those possessions. Yeah. And I'd like a little scooter to go down to town and buy things in, when the people who are supposed to be bringing the groceries up to my cave, when it's wet and raining and they don't come, I want to have a scooter. I can go down and get my own supplies. But even, forget about being in retreat in our regular life, possessions. The more I have, the safer I am. Possessions, money indicates safety, doesn't it? Yeah. You need those things to survive in our society. And so we want them, and we want as much as possible. And especially when we look and we're aging, we want to have enough money to support ourselves in old age. We want enough possessions so that we're comfortable in old age. We don't know that we'll really make it to old age, but we worry about it a lot now, and it occupies our mind a lot. And I want possessions too, because it makes my life very comfortable now. I want physical comfort. I don't want, to be uncomfortable. And also when I have possessions, people look up to me. People know that I have a good job, that I have a good income, that I run a good business, that I'm money-wise. So I earn respect when I have money and possessions. This is the way it is in the world, isn't it? And we want that. So, so much of our life is tied up in possessions. And here Shantideva is saying, having abandoned the pain of clinging to and guarding possessions. But when we think about it, clinging to and guarding our possessions and everything we have to do to get them is not necessarily a pleasant activity, is it? From the time you're a little kid, we're inculcated with you have to study hard so you can get a good job so that you can make money, so that you can be comfortable. Yeah. So that you can, be well off in your old age, maybe help your parents if they haven't accumulated enough by then. Yeah. So we're taught this for, this age. And we never question it because you're a little kid. And also that's the way everybody thinks. Yeah. But when you start to look how our whole life is the box we live in, because it becomes a box. Yeah. To get the education, to get the job, to get the money, to invest it well, to survive the economy going up and down and across. It's exhausting. Yeah. It's exhausting because you never have enough. Yeah. And when you have $100, it's, if I had 200. You have 200, I need 1,000. Yeah, you have 1,000, I need 10,000. And the numbers keep going up, but you never reach a number where you feel, now I definitely have enough to feel secure. Yeah, from now until I die, because you don't know when you're going to die. And what happens if I live to be 120? Not many people do, but I have that aspiration and I'm going to do it. Yeah. So I need enough money to support myself until I'm 120 or maybe 121. That's more auspicious. Yeah. Or maybe a little bit older than that. Yeah. And so there's no limit to how much you need and what things you need to have. Yeah, because if you live to be 120, every object you have now is going to be obsolete. Your modern iPhone is going to be in a museum by the time you get to 120, because they're going to have all sorts of other things like virtual reality where you put on a pair of glasses and then you can be in Amitabha's Pure Land in this life before even going there, because they're going to create a virtual reality and you'll hear Amitabha, you'll see, His Holiness, you'll see Amitabha, you'll see Nagarjuna, you'll feel the soft breeze, and it's all going to be virtual, by the time you get to age 20. So for, your current iPhone, it's just like I said, it's going to go in a museum. Yeah. And young people are going to go look at that, the way we go and look at, the ancient farm equipment, from 100 years ago. That's ancient. 100 years ago is now ancient. Forget about 3,000 years ago. Okay. And yet, when do we ever have security? Yeah. It's impossible because we live in a changing world and everything is changing moment by moment. And we don't know what's going to happen. So this thing of, possessions are going to make me secure. So, that's the purpose of my life. And I cling onto everything, This is my thermos. Even though it's hard to open, my thermos, I'm going to save it because, when I'm 108, I'll still need some hot water. Yeah. And so I need this. I need this. I need that. I need that. I need this. I need this. We need everything. Okay. And we never have enough and we never are secure. Yeah. So Shantideva is saying, if you never have enough and you're never secure, why are you driving yourself crazy, trying to have everything you need and reaching some state of security. You're trying to get the impossible. Yeah, because security does not come from possessions. Security comes from your internal Dharma practice. But we've neglected the internal Dharma practice because we're so busy, looking at the stock market, tabulating, our interest rates and where to move all the money so we get more interest rates. And, we're doing all of this, so there's no time to do our practice. Yeah. And yet it's really, when you think about it, when you're in an ever-changing world, isn't your own mind, your own mental stability, what's going to bring you peace? Because all the external stuff you can't hold on to, and it only makes you more stressed to try and get it and hold on to it. Yeah. And then you have a reputation for being wealthy and having all these things. And then once you have that reputation, you've got to maintain it. Who wants to be one of those people who is wealthy and then your wealth vanishes when the stock market goes down? Yeah. Oh, horror. Yeah, then you're nobody. Yeah, there was an article, I didn't read the whole thing, in New York Times about somebody who was a baroness, in Europe from the very wealthy family, and came to the U.S. and just wanted to live anonymously. And when they found her, she had a stroke and she just collapsed one day. She had no ID. She had nothing on her. Somebody found her in the lobby, collapsed of a luxury apartment building, and took her to the hospital. And she was a Jane Doe, Yeah. And it took them a while to figure out that she was actually from a very wealthy family. Yeah. But, none of that helped her. I mean, and they couldn't actually even find any family members. Yeah. So a very confusing kind of thing. But so does she have money or does she not have money? And who's going to manage the estate and, sell the whole art collection so that she has the money to stay in the hospital? I mean, it becomes a whole big confusing scene. And you spend your whole life trying to be secure. And at the end of the day, when you have a stroke, you don't know where you're going to be and who's going to be around and if people are going to know who you are. Yeah. And if people even care who you are. Sometimes, the richer and more famous you are, the more enemies you have. Yeah, because people resent the power that you have or resent the unfair distribution of wealth. Yeah, so why are we driving ourselves crazy about this? Okay. So in verse 87, Shantideva is saying, having abandoned the pain of clinging to and guarding possessions, they abide independent, free of care. Yeah. Because when you don't have a car, you don't have car hell. Yeah. And when you don't have, a phone, you don't have phone hell when it breaks. Yeah. Or when your computer deletes everything. Yeah. Kind of. People think Tantra is magical and mystical. I think how my computer deletes things that I didn't delete is much more mysterious than Tantra. Yeah. Okay. So you look worried. Huh?
Did it delete more things?
I have, the sync system is sinking. Not it's not sinking this way, it's sinking this way. So, okay. Okay, 88. Living as they choose, desireless, having no ties with anyone, even the powerful have difficulty finding a life as happy and content as this. Now, some people, many of the powerful are going to go, what? You know, you live without desire? You know, I mean, I've got to have, you know, my 5 golf courses, and I've got to have my private jets. And you know, they're talking about the rich and powerful here. You know, I've got to have all those things. How are these people being happy without it? And no ties to anybody. I want a circle of friends and relatives around me all the time, telling me how wonderful I am, telling me that everything I do is so perfect. The way I vacuum the floor, you know, they comment on it and tell me how wonderful I vacuum the floor, how wonderful I wash the dishes. I need praise all the time. Yeah. And for praise, I need connection with people. Okay. And I need this all the time, you know. And I vacuumed the floor and nobody noticed. And nobody said thank you. And nobody said how hard I worked and how I vacuum much better than everybody else does. So I don't know who I am. I don't know if I'm worthwhile anymore. Yeah? Anybody here want constant reinforcement of how good they are? Oh, there's a few honest people. Yeah. Yeah, just constant. Just, you know, we need somebody to comment about everything we do. You know, the way you use the nail cutter on your fingernails. You cut them just at the right time, in the right shape. You know, when you look at it, we get really picky. Yeah. So, you know, this is the kind of thing I like to do when I meditate on the faults of these things, is I take whatever it is I'm clinging to and I make it extreme like this, because it's the same mindset. You know, I can't just say, well, I don't want praise about my fingernails, but I want praise about, you know, when I write a book or when I give a talk, I want praise, you know. When I fix the computer, I want praise. Well, it's the same as wanting praise for how you cut your fingernails, you know. And I find in my meditation, when I make the examples ever more absurd, it enables me to see how crazy that clinging and desire is. Because it's the same no matter what you're clinging and desiring to. And so that then it helps to relax the mind and laugh. It's like, yeah, this is ridiculous. And it's true. Our mind is often ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah. When you see the things that we cling onto, just, yeah. I may have told you the story. This is a story about reputation. When I was in retreat some years ago, and, you know, and I was doing my mantra and the visualization. It was really nice. And then I started thinking, you know, my teacher I'm sure he has clairvoyant powers, and he's seeing what a good meditator I am right now. You know? And then I just cracked up in the middle of my meditation. It's like, how absurd that I want praise for that. I mean, that's like, you know, my teacher said, oh, the way you dusted the shelf is perfect. You know? So clinging to that kind of praise, it's just absurd. Yeah. And the thought of my teacher is praising me, that shows how little I deserved praise. Yeah, it showed how the mind was totally under the influence of attachment to reputation and trying to impress people. Yeah. So often when you see what your mind's holding, then you see not only is it absurd to hold that, but it actually proves the opposite of what you're trying to get rewarded for. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why so often, when we're full of pride, we look really foolish. Some people are intimidated when they're with proud people, because the proud people appear so powerful. But when you look beyond, the facade, it's really rather pathetic. Yeah. You think of it, people needing that so much. Okay, 88. Living as they choose. I did that one. Having no ties with anyone. Even the powerful have difficulty finding a life as happy and content as this. Well, the powerful, do they have any time in their lives when they have any peace in their lives? Because to remain powerful, it takes a lot of energy. You need to work hard to impress other people. Yeah? And sometimes what you're impressing them over is foolish. Sometimes it's you did something magnificent. I got an Olympic medal, and so you're trying to impress people by your Olympic medal. But that takes a lot of effort, doesn't it? Yeah? Can you imagine you just got done swimming and you're exhausted and they gave you this piece of heavy stuff to hang around your neck. And now you have to smile in front of these cameras and tell everybody, how wonderful it is. And, and you're tired. I mean, being rich and famous is not easy. You think of, if you've read any history and you think of the lives of the kings and queens, oh my goodness, the pressure on them, the politics lying behind their lives, they don't have any peace because, in times when they had kings and queens and like that, and nowadays modern politicians too, everybody is scheming. And you've got to keep ahead of the schemes and you've got to figure out who are your friends and who are your enemies and how you're going to, thwart somebody else's schemes to take away your wealth and your status. And it's totally exhausting. Yeah. So when Shantideva says, even the powerful have difficulty finding a life as happy and content as this, because their lives are constantly full of discontent. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Putin, very good example. Okay. Yeah. Donnie's getting a break these days. Yeah. So if you look, Putin, he's head of Russia, but that's not enough. That's not enough. He's head of a country that spans, 10 time zones or 11 time zones, but that's not enough power. Yeah. So he needs to invade another country. Yeah. And he needs to threaten, the Baltic states. I mean, the Baltic states now are paralyzed in fear because Russia, how many times in the past has invaded them and taken them over? Yeah. And the Central Asian countries are trying to figure out where they fit in, because for Putin, it's not enough, and even he reconstructs the ancient Russian Empire in all of its glory, then he's going to want something more. Yeah. And more and more and more, I mean, when Trump wanted to buy Greenland, I mean, yeah. Did people know about this? Yeah, he asked. Yeah, he wanted to buy Greenland. So he asked how much it cost. So, yeah. So, there's no peace in the mind. So why do we crave that? Why do we crave that kind of life and status and wealth? And you have very little security because of all the scheming. So you might not suffer as a peasant suffers suffer through poverty, but you have a whole other type of suffering. Yeah, whole other type that, people have a hard time seeing how the rich and powerful suffer, but they do. Yeah. 89. Having in such ways as these thought about the excellences of solitude, I should completely pacify distorted conceptions and meditate on the awakening mind, meditate on bodhicitta. So again, Shantideva is saying, you're seeking a peaceful lifestyle. Yeah. Now you have to do the work that peaceful lifestyle gives you. Okay. Which is identifying and pacifying all of our grasping. Yeah. So grasping at possessions, at people, at fame, even at ourselves. Yeah. Grasping the I and mine. Yeah. And instead, what are we to do? Think about how to generate bodhicitta. Okay. So it's not a question of giving up our desire and all the hassles that come with it, and then, looking for our own solitary peace and nirvana. It's not, okay, I got rid of all my samsaric headaches. Now that, I'm going to realize emptiness, go into nirvana. That's it. No, Shantideva says, meditate on bodhicitta. Why? Yeah. We go back to what he taught us in the first chapter. Yeah. And all the subsequent chapters, the kindness of sentient beings, the benefits of generating bodhicitta, how bodhicitta is good for us, it's good for others, it's good for the world, So this is not a project to just get our own nirvana. Yeah. And, when we chant on Wednesdays, about who I can't remember, I can never remember the exact words of what I chant when I have to say them alone. But, whoever would leave their mother sentient beings in the hell of, in samsara and just look for their own happiness. Yeah. Drapa Gyaltsa says, spit on them, So you spit on your self-centeredness. People read that and think, oh, I'm supposed to go around spitting at people. No, you're not spitting at people. Oh, I'm supposed to spit at all the arhats. No, you don't do that. Arhats are to be respected. But what we want to spit on is our own motivation that says, okay, I got rid of the all the craving, I have a peaceful life, I'm just going to realize emptiness. Ciao, goodbye, I'm out of samsara. Good luck, everybody. No, we're not doing that. Yeah. We've seen the benefit of bodhicitta and we've committed to that. Yeah. And we're not going back on our word. We made a promise to all sentient beings. We're not backing out, because we have the integrity of valuing our own word and our own promises. If we don't value our own word, when we generated bodhicitta and said, I'm going to, when we, generated aspiring bodhicitta, when we took the Bodhisattva, if we don't really value our word, then, how trustworthy are we? So it may take a long time to become a Buddha, but, we're going in that direction, and however long it takes, it takes. Yeah. But we're keeping our word to the Buddhas and to sentient beings. Okay. So verse 90. First of all, so now we've gone into seclusion. We're, meditating on the bodhicitta. And you don't need to wait until you go into retreat to do that. We should be doing it in the monastery too. Yeah. Because in the monastery, or in the Dharma center, you're surrounded by sentient beings. So it's not a question of getting away from sentient beings and then meditating on how kind they are when they're not around, bugging you. It's to be able to meditate on their kindness, and see their suffering when they're right in front of you, saying, I'm suffering and I need help. Okay. So it's not a thing of escaping from sentient beings, because wherever we go, we exist in relationship to all sentient beings. So we don't have to be close to them to exist in relationship to them. Okay, so there's sentient beings throughout this whole universe in other realms. We don't see them, we don't know them, but we exist in relationship to them, because what we do will have an effect on them. Yeah. If we generate love and compassion, it may not affect them in this life, but in future lives, when we're born, when we can directly influence them, we will have these minds of love and compassion to give to sentient beings. So the way we influence may not come immediately, but it will definitely come. And so while we're creating the cause, we're keeping in our mind, I'm creating this cause for the benefit of all these sentient beings. Yeah. So when, lots of people write to us and they say, my mother died, my father died, my dear ones died. And I always write back, amidst other advice and comments, I always say, make prayers that in a future life, by the force of your Dharma practice in this life, when you are born near them in a future life, that you may be able to benefit them. Yeah, because that's the best way to repay the kindness. Yeah, you can do prayers for them and so on now, while they're in the bardo. But the real way to benefit sentient beings is when you're both alive and there can be the direct benefit. And so you think, okay, my mother, my father, whatever happened, I will benefit them in this way in future lives by, doing my practice now and generating those excellent qualities so that in the future I can be of direct benefit. Okay. And I think that helps, because when somebody, when a dear one dies, if you think of some way to benefit them, you feel connected to them in some way, even though who they're going to be and who you're going to be in a future life, you know, you're not going to recognize each other and say, oh, hi, I was your mother, father, son, daughter in a previous life 5,000 eons ago. You know, you're not going to recognize each other, but that length, you know, will be there, and the wish to benefit will be there. Okay. So first of all, I should make an effort to meditate upon the equality between self and others. I should protect all beings as I do myself, because we are all equal in wanting pleasure and not wanting pain. Okay, so before we go on to the other verses, we're going to go into more depth in this meditation on equalizing self and others, okay? Because it's the method that Shantideva is teaching here. But in later years, I don't have, do I have? Okay, so there's a method of meditating on equalizing self and others. I learned it first from Senchab Serkam Rinpoche. I'm not sure what the origin is, if it's from Trijang Rinpoche. Do you have any idea? The 9 points? Yeah. Who Trijang Rinpoche? Yeah. Okay. I thought it might be from him. Yeah. But I received it from Senchab Serkam Rinpoche. And for me, this is like so powerful. I have a very clear memory of sitting in that teaching and listening to it. I mean, that's how powerful it was. And also, I heard it a second time from His Holiness when he was in Arizona, sometime, I forget when. You know, but again, I know exactly where I was sitting in relationship to His Holiness. And it was a teaching on my birthday. And I thought, this is the best birthday present I could ever have, you know? Okay, so just a little bit of preliminary to this teaching. If we equalize and exchange self and others, then, you know, we have the ability to make very clear assessments of situations. Our minds are not clouded by confusion. Yeah. So we don't need modes to decide what to do. Yeah. We don't need pujas for extra blessings. We don't need health insurance. Yeah. This is what Rinpoche was saying. Because doing the lojong, the thought transformation practice, it's not an issue of stopping the external problems. It's a thing of stopping the mind that dislikes the problem. Okay, when we do pujas, we're thinking that the puja will stop the external problem. Yeah. But actually, the thought training practice is to deal with the mind that says, I don't want this problem. It should go away. Okay? Because that's our usual reaction to problems, isn't it? Why me? I don't want this. I'm tired of pain. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. I just want to be happy. Yeah. And, you know, we're looking for the magic wand. You know, who is it? Tinkerbell comes in with her magic wand, you know, and spreads the fairy dust, and then the problem goes away. Well, no, lojong is dealing with the mind that says, that rejects reality. That's what it is, you know. When we have a problem and we're unhappy about it, our mind is rejecting the reality of what's happening. Yeah, we're saying this reality is not satisfactory. I deserve better. Now, who are you going to go to complain to about why you deserve better in samsara? Because there's no operator, external operator of samsara who's going to change it for you. You know, there's no external savior who's going to sweep down and save you. Because if there were such a thing, that external savior would have already done it because they're so compassionate. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing is coming back to our mind and how our mind creates the problem and our mind solves the problem. And that, you know, we keep coming back to that, and that's still really hard, isn't it? Because whenever we have a problem, we want the outside to change. Yeah. I don't want this pain, whether it's mental pain, physical pain, worry, anxiety, who knows what. I don't want it. It should go away. Yeah. But it's our berserky mind that is the actual source of it. Yeah. And so we keep coming back to there's no other way but to deal with our own mind. Yeah. As much as we would like to pray and think some external being is going to sweep down. Yeah. I mean, we look at Chenrezig up there with 11 heads and 1,000 arms. And yes, Chenrezig sees my suffering. Why doesn't he grab me? I don't even want all 1,000 arms to grab me. Just one arm will grab me and take me out of this mess that I'm in. Yeah. Why doesn't Chenrezig do that? Yeah. Well, because he can't. Because the power of the enlightening activities of a Buddha is equal to the power of our own karma. Yeah? And if we're not purifying, if we're continuing to stack on negative karma, then, you know, the holy beings have so much compassion, but what can they do? They can't teach us. And teaching us is the way that they actually benefit us. Yeah. What do you expect? Chenrezig can pick you up, you know, with one of his 1,000 arms and then go, oh, what do I do with him now? Yeah. Yeah. And what are you going to say to Chenrezig? Chenrezig go, okay, I got you out of that jam. What do you want now? And you don't even know what you want now. Do you? Yeah. I just want to be free of that problem. But what do you want? Yeah. Where am I going to put you down? Chenrezig says to you, and you go, I don't know. Because we don't, you know. So when your aim is to generate bodhicitta and attain awakening, then you have some idea where you want to go. If Chenrezig could put you down somewhere. Yeah. But Chenrezig doesn't pick us up and put us down that way because it's a process of changing the mind, not changing our location. Yeah. Okay. So when we think about equalizing and exchanging self and others, it seems really difficult. I mean, the equalizing is hard enough, but exchanging self and others is like, that's a step beyond me. Okay, but we can do this through the force of familiarity, because through familiarizing our mind with another way of looking at things, then our whole attitude changes. Okay. And so we'll get into that, you know, because right now we think of ourselves as more important than everybody else, you know, and how can I not think of myself more important? Yeah. My therapist told me I've got to assert myself and claim my importance. We're not contradicting your therapist. Shantideva isn't contradicting that. Shantideva is saying, do it, if you want to stick up for yourself, stick up for your ethical values. Yeah. Stick up for what you know is meaningful. Don't stick up for your self-centered attitude. Okay. So anyway, by the force of familiarity, then, we can change it from just this mind that's always thinking, I want, I need, I should have. That's kind of our mantra, isn't it? I want, I need, I should have, the world owes it to me. Okay, that's our 4 immeasurables. I want, I need, I should have, the world owes it to me. 4 of them, yeah. We have that. We are so familiar with it, we don't even need to recite it. Yeah, it's just our way of being. What we want to do is get the actual 4 immeasurables familiarized in our mind in the same way so that they become so much a part of us that, automatically may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. So that those 4 thoughts are in our heart and we operate from those 4 immeasurables instead of operate, from I want, I need, I deserve, give it to me. Yeah. Okay. So, now you might ask, well, what's the difference between equanimity, and equalizing? Yeah. So, equanimity is actually a meditation that we do before we do either one of the 2 ways for developing bodhicitta. Before we do the 7-point cause and effect instruction, and before we do the equalizing, exchanging self and others instruction. So it's a preliminary meditation. Actually, as it's given in the Lam Rim, Tsongkhapa describes it as equalizing friend and enemy. Yeah. I put in stranger too. Yeah. Because, and you corrected me when we were going through I remember that. Yeah. Because Tsongkhapa says it's just friend and enemy. I put in stranger because, and I was thinking about that, why isn't it in friend and in equal equanimity? And I was thinking, in ancient India, the communities were very small and everybody knew everybody. There weren't a lot of strangers in the in the villages of in ancient times. There was a much lower population, smaller communities. Everybody knew each other. Yeah. So people were pretty much either a friend or an enemy. Probably not so many strangers unless you got invaded. Yeah. By some other force, in which case they stopped being strangers and they became enemies. But now in modern culture, we have a lot of strangers, don't we? Yeah. We have more strangers than we have friends and enemies. You just go walk down a street in any town, any city, most of the people are people we don't know. Yeah. So I personally feel it's important to include them. Excuse me, Jai Rinpoche. In our meditations so that there's some equanimity. Yeah. So in the equanimity meditation, we're focused on friend, enemy, and stranger, and equalizing having an equanimous attitude towards them so that we're free from bias. Yeah. So we're not attached to our friends and relatives. We don't have hostility towards enemies, and we aren't apathetic towards strangers. So the purpose of the equanimity meditation is to deal with those three emotions. Okay. The attachment, the antipathy, and the apathy. Yeah. The 3 A's. Yeah. And to have a sense of equilibrium, so we aren't going up and down in relationship to all the different people we meet. Oh, I like that person. I feel good. Oh, I have to be with that person. Yuck. Oh, that person's a stranger. Just get them out of my way. Yeah, that's how we are, isn't it? Our yo-yo mind all day long. So developing some sense of, all these people are valuable, and nobody is inherently a friend, inherently an enemy, inherently a stranger, And so in this meditation, you really meditate on how these relationships change all the time. They change definitely from one life to the next. But even within one lifetime, who's our friend, who's our enemy, who's a stranger, it changes so much. Yeah. I mean, I think back to first grade. I don't know any of the people now who I knew in first grade. So my friends and enemies in first grade are all now strangers. People who were strangers when I was in first grade, some of them have become friends. Some of them I don't like. And some of them, most of them, remain strangers. Yeah. And so just in this lifetime, how we feel about somebody is, it's like a flag in the wind. It's like fluttering all the time because our mind is always assessing, are they nice to me or are they mean to me? If you're nice to me, you're my friend. If you're mean to me, I can't stand you. Yeah. And we're doing this all day long. Yeah. And then we try and structure our lives so that we're around all the people we like and we're not around the people who, we don't like. And the strangers, okay, I can wiggle my way around them most of the time, unless I'm in line for something. Then strangers can easily become enemies. The strangers in front of me, strangers behind me, they're okay. Strangers in front of me, why are you taking so long? Yeah, I want to get to the checkout counter. I'm on hold in this call. I'm calling the hospital to make an appointment or the doctor to make an appointment. I've been on hold 5 minutes. Who is on the other line with the receptionist? They are taking too long. I don't know who they are, but they need to get their business done with because I've been waiting 5 whole minutes on hold with this awful music. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is us, isn't it? We don't think, oh, how nice that the receptionist is talking to somebody else and fulfilling their needs and helping them get the appointments they need to solve their health. We just think of, I've been waiting online 5 minutes, Yeah. And if they would only stop this awful music. Okay. So, equilibrium is, the equanimity meditation is equalizing friend, enemy, and stranger. Yeah. And So here, the main method is by seeing that none of these relationships are permanent. They change all the time. They change from 1 minute to the next minute. Yeah. When you're in food line and you have a special diet and somebody says, "Oh, I cooked something specially for you," then you think, "Oh, that person's my friend." But then you get to that special dish and it's empty. Somebody else ate it. And then the person who cooked it for you has become an enemy because they didn't cook enough. Okay? But then the person you don't like, the person who didn't comment on how wonderfully you set up the altar, who you can't stand because they didn't notice what you did, they're cooking that day and they cook exactly what you like. And it's like, oh, now that enemy's become a friend. So I know I'm giving ridiculous examples, but they're not ridiculous, are they? If we judge people over these tiny, tiny things. So what are we going to do when there's big things? Yeah. When people do something that impacts us in a big way, then we totally go ballistic, don't we? We're angry, we're depressed, yeah. And the friend, enemy, stranger, everything is changing all the time. And I just want everybody to be my friend. Why can't they all be nice to me? We don't have to ask the question, why can't I be nice to all them? We don't ask that question. Yeah. How can I be nice to them? We ask the question, why can't they be nice to me? It's true, isn't it? When you see it, our samsaric situation is totally pathetic. Yeah? And this is why His Holiness so often in Dharma talks, when he talks about benefiting others as an antidote to low self-esteem, as an antidote to negative self-talk, he talks about benefiting others, cherishing others, And we respond when he says that, but first I have to love myself before I can love others. That's what we say, isn't it? Yes, it's good. I want to develop loving others, but first I have to love myself. So, I want to go buy myself a non-calorie hot fudge sundae that's going to make me happy. So to show how much I love myself. That's not showing how you love yourself. That's making yourself unhealthy. Yeah. When you look at it, it's a way of inflicting pain on yourself, isn't it? Yeah, but we don't look at it that way. That hot fudge sundae has happiness inside of it. Okay? So, we have to see, our mind is so fickle. Yeah, it's so fickle and changeable. Who we like, who we don't like, who we approve of, who we don't approve of. Yeah. So the equanimity is getting us over that hump so that we can look at every sentient being and see, they are all worthy of respect. We don't just say, oh, well, I don't have attachment, anger, and aversion anymore towards anybody. I'm sorry, attachment, antipathy, and apathy towards anybody anymore. That's not the goal of equanimity. Yeah. Oh, I'm free of attachment. I'm free of antipathy. I'm free of apathy. I just sit there all day saying, doesn't matter to me. I don't like this. I don't like that. Some people think, the reason I'm stressing this is because some people think that they're afraid to do this meditation because they think that if they give up attachment and aversion, and then they're going to become totally apathetic. And, I don't care about anybody anymore. Okay? I don't think that is what the Buddha intended from the equanimity meditation. It's not to get us all into a state of apathetic detachment. Okay? I don't want to help you anymore. I don't want to harm you anymore. I just sit there, bumping a log. Okay? No, that's not where we want to get to. Okay? This meditation, we don't stop with it. It's a preparation that then takes us into seeing the kindness of others and seeing their dukkha in samsara and generating compassion. So it's a meditation that sets the stage for what is going to follow. We don't just go into apathy. Okay, is this making some sense to people? Yeah, because I get this question a lot when you talk about abandoning attachment and aversion. Then people, whether it's towards people or possessions, then people say, oh, do you mean we just don't care about anything? No, that's not what we're getting at. The opposite, it's we clear the dirt away. The dirt is the attachment, antipathy, and apathy. We clear that dirt away, and then we use that openness to generate genuine love and compassion for sentient beings, and the great resolve and bodhicitta. Okay. So we have a few minutes for questions and maybe answers and comments. And then next time we'll get into, it's a 9-point meditation that is really spectacular according to my opinion. Yeah. So what I think is well, my opinion is always right. Yeah. But no, this one is inherently a spectacular meditation. Okay. Comments, questions, whatever?
2 weeks ago, you gave us the homework of spending some time looking back in our life to early childhood to take a look at, what we wanted. And I could hardly get going on this. I mean, I made some headway because it's so vast. So the first example that came to mind was, when you grew up in a little town, the Sears catalog, the Christmas catalog would come out before Halloween. And there were no stores that you would go into in a little small town that you would have craving. Well, there's one store and they had cowboy boots. But, the Sears catalog, my siblings and I would fight over this, to get the first dibs on, and we'd check off things and we'd circle things. And, by December 1st, this catalog would be in tatters. And it was just this constant mind of looking at what would make me, this little child, happy. And so that orientation just never stopped. It continued to grow. And it was very alarming to see just the beginning depths of this craving that the whole world is involved in. And we're just encouraged to do, even as little children.
Right. And our economy depends on it. If we don't have craving, the economy is going down. And that's what everybody's afraid of, is when the economy isn't doing well. So that's why after 9/11, what the president told us to do as patriotic Americans was not only be angry at the people who bombed the World Trade Center, but go out and buy things. That was patriotism because it keeps the economy strong. Anybody remember that? Yeah, go out and buy things. All these people died, and we're supposed to go out and buy stuff.
Then our poor parents try to figure out which one of those things that have been circled multiple times is what is really going to make us happy. So then they, they don't have much money. So they get one of those things. And then by, an hour after opening the gift, we're all on to something else. So we're outside building a snow fort, and the thing is just.
Yeah. Yeah. I want this so bad. I want this so bad. Then you get it, and then it's boring. Yeah. Yeah. Other comments and questions? Yeah.
I think that the addiction to needing it to have the attachment in the mind, the aversion in the mind, I get so scared. I'm one of those people that says, if I don't have these feelings, I'm nobody. Who am I?
Who am I?
And that there's this real kind of junky mind in there, even though I'm unhappy a lot of the times when I have my attachment meant and my aversion arises, there is such a sense of this is how I exist. This is who I am.
Yep.
And I get scared when we start talking about relinquishing our craving and our feelings to be right, because I've got myself hugely invested.
Yeah.
In the yo-yo. The yo-yo gives me some life.
Yeah.
The volatility gives me some life. The unpredictability of my own emotions gives me an existence.
Yeah.
And it just scares the heck out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think our deepest fear is that we're going to go out of existence, that we don't exist, or we do exist, but our existence is going to stop. And all this stuff gives, I have attachment, I have aversion, I'm jealousy, I'm arrogant, whatever it is. I'm alive. I exist. I think it really comes down to that, and a terrible fear of not existing. Yeah. So at death, that fear arises. What do? I want another body. I want another samsaric life. Yeah. So we don't think, well, I can stay alive, but in a very different way. Without this big I, I can be alive with the mind of bodhicitta. I can be alive with the mind of wisdom, but the I is going to look a whole lot different to us. Yeah. At that point, because we'll realize what a hallucination it is, what we're holding to now.
I see the days where I actually have the more virtue in my mind. There's a real tug of war going on. It's almost like there's a withdrawal aspect of the afflicted states of mind when I see that the virtue really does make me much happier. But boy, there's this hook back there that wants to disrupt that, and convince me that that's a low grade kind of happiness. That virtuous stuff is just like not a big winner. Yeah. So there's a tug of war that goes on the more that my virtue increases, and the habit is still really strong.
Yeah. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. Because when you get aggravated, frustrated, and angry, the force, the feeling of I exist is much stronger than when you do virtue. Yeah? And, we are addicted to that feeling of I. And anger just, reinforces it. I exist because I am angry. Yeah. It's crazy. And yet we're miserable when we're angry, aren't we? We're totally miserable.
I want to share a story about a teaching that you probably I know you don't remember, but you don't know how meaningful it was. That even the stupidest things that reinforce who we think we are, because there was a time when I had really cleaned my desk, I thought quite well. And you came in and said, I'd like for you to clean your desk. And I don't think I was nasty in my pushback this time. I often have been. But I did say, I really have done my best. Can you show me what you would like for me to do? And then you started by taking, like, I would take this off the wall, and all my little Post-it notes of my Dharma sayings started to come down. And then my little thing that reminded me of this came down, and this came down, and I was getting more and more deflated and more and more deflated. And then I thanked you, and you went away. I mean, you weren't nasty about it. You were just showing me what would be clean. And I was just like devastated. And it took me a long time to think about, why is this so painful? And it's because all of these objects on the wall, all these little notes, all of these little Post-its were expressions of who I am. So it's not even the feeling thing. It's the stupid Post-it, right, that we use again and again and again to reinforce it. It was a powerful teaching. I appreciated it a lot. And I appreciated your help.
I should go look at your desk now.
Yeah, well, the Post-its are actually now on my computer desktop.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dedicate.